the tactical the room for tactical expression just seems so insane. I mean, I played the demo and then after that, and I thought that was a phenomenal demo. And I watched some video, and just the fact that you're able to, in the mission I saw, you were trying to take out these five snipers, and that you were able to take the easy route, of course, and say, hey, I'm going to sit there. And the way that people handle snipers in most game is to get a sniper rifle themselves, take cover, and then to have a war that way. But you can charge it, you can drive a truck up through a wall and then disintegrate the roof above you, jetpack up through there, and then suddenly end up right behind one of the snipers. And just that sort
Yeah,
of
like,
freedom that's always been there in Battlefield, but taken to such a great extreme in this.
that's sort of exactly like I had one of those pretty much exact moments. There are these particular missions where you have to rescue hostages who are in a building, and apparently something happens at some point in the mission. You're not really told about it, like if you do it wrong and they kill the hostages. But I tried a couple times and the hostages kept dying, or they'd be like running out to get into my space jeep, and then they'd get shot and die. And I'm like, all right. So then this time what I did was I got a huge van and drove the van off the cliff. It was like a protected mansion in a cliffside, and so I flew the van off the cliff and jetpacked out of the van onto the roof and walked around on the roof above the first hostage and shot my way, like just shot through the until you get the, like, once you get the gun that lets you shoot through and like disintegrate walls. That's when they, like, and it takes you so long to get that gun. I wish they'd give it to you earlier. So I drop in and I'm like, "Come with me if you want to live." And I'm like, "Let's go get your friend." I fucking shoot down through level 2 and level 3, and a bunch of guys are like, "Bah!" And I'm like, "You're disintegrated. You're disintegrated." And I like shoot through the wall, walk through, and I'm like, "You too, miss." And then I shoot through this last wall, and it was just like a fucking action movie. I shoot through the last wall, and I'm like, "Oh, guess what's out here?" The van that I jumped out of on the way, because I like angled my jump just the right way. We have this guy and sped off, and I'm like, "Am I gonna get like a? Do I get like a NPC hand job or something from this? Do I get anything cool, like a little roadhead as we head back to the Mars capital?" Or, I mean, that's a pretty kick-ass rescue, right?
I had a similar experience, although yours is a little bit more kick-ass with one of those hostage freeing missions. Like I went to pick them up, and I kept on trying the same. It was a smaller sort of jail cell area that was surrounded by guns, and there was one of the sort of EDF vehicles out front. And what I kept on doing for like 5 tries was I would load up one side of the vehicle with explosives, and when I'd hit the trigger, the car would go careening into the building and like blow up all these guys. And I was so into this happening that I couldn't, like, I kept on coming back and doing it, and then the hostages would get killed, and we'd never make it back to my car, and I kept on fucking up, and eventually I just drove the van that I was in like right into the building, right into the jail cell, and like grabbed the guys and put them in the van, and we drove through the wall and left. And it took like 3 seconds to do something that I'd done, for the last 30 minutes or so.
When
But
you
yeah, that game has a lot
when
of
you guys
crazy
play that,
options.
do you ever like imagine that mom's watching you? Not literally mom, but I mean, do you play for an imagined audience?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always playing for my imaginary friends, just small
It
games.
sounds ridiculous, but I mean, like, I don't know. When I play that kind of game, I imagine like, okay, like what if I were frapsing this for like internal studio review or something, and I just you want it. I mean, you want to show off, right? I mean, so like, I mean, even for example, I was doing that with Half-Life 2 for some reason the other day, and I took pains not to just sit around with my SMG. That was constantly like catching anytime a zombie would pull a grenade, I'd pull that out of his hand, time it just in time, and blow him up with it. Just weapon switching, basically just putting on a show. And it's like the kind of game like Red Faction just seems like the perfect scenario where you're like, I'm just gonna do
Wow.
this
So that
again. And
so when you're playing games, Sean, do you sort of like have these like people in your head like cheering you on as you're playing? You're awesome, Sean. Is that what you're doing?
I got,
we believe in you.
I gotta
You
say,
can do it.
I'd never played a game with the idea of like an audience watching me play the game.
That's a
You know, but
fucking
Sean,
lie,
what,
dude.
you, what
Don't
you know
leave
what
me
you should
hanging
do?
here.
Have you guys seen Scorsese's King of Comedy with
Yes.
Robert De Niro? So Sean, what you should do is you should like do like a cardboard cutout of like an audience, watching you as you play games, just sort of like De Niro did.
It's fucked
with
up,
like
man.
a recorded clap track and laugh track.
You could, dude. At least Robert like just aimed me that he's buying me a shirt right now for coming out with that, and you're just being an asshole.
No, but that idea of performative play is kind of interesting. It's definitely something I've thought about, but I'm trying to remember now like which games I've done that in. It does tend to be, I think, more open world games because the way the systems work in those games, there's kind of there's sort of these explicit not explicit parts where you can just sort of say like, all right, I'm just gonna walk away from the main story and just wreck shit. Just
Hmm.
do stuff. And I feel like
Hmm.
those games sort of lend themselves to that. Whereas like, if I'm playing a game like, I don't know, God of War or something like that, I'm trying to progress from beginning to end. I'm just sort of trying to charge through. But I feel like even like a game like Left 4 Dead, sometimes you're looking for ways to do sort of like, more stylish kills sometimes than
Yeah,
necessarily just take them out. If
sure.
especially like where the places like where sometimes you guys notice if you play the game, there are zombies that are really just sort of hanging out. They're not really coming at you unless you sort of, lure them in your direction. They're just sort of like drifting zombies,
They're
shamblers, I
chilling.
guess.
Uh-huh.
And so finding fun ways to take them out is good.